Star Wars Episode 7. Is the Force strong with this one, or is it just a stuck-up, half-witted, scruffy-looking nerf herder? Stick around and find out. This is Talkie Dreams. Alright guys, I just did my short review for Star Wars Episode 7 The Force Awakens. This is going to be the extended review, so I'm going to warn you right now, spoiler alert, there's spoilers for the new Star Wars film. Do not watch this. If you've come here by accident and you don't want to hear any spoilers, go to the short review, which has absolutely no spoilers other than my opinion on what I thought about it as a whole, and then come back here and we can discuss the spoilers of the film. So you can find that link in the description or in this annotation here, right there. Okay, good. If you're already there, bye-bye. I hope to see you later. And if you're sticking with me, it means you've already seen the movie or you just don't care about spoilers, which is fine. So first of all, what I really enjoyed about the film was the aesthetic. They got the aesthetic right. It was down pat. It was good. They have the aesthetic almost perfectly. Their machines work. They feel like they have this kind of metallic, grungy, dirty feel that we have from the 1970s and 80s trilogy. So the original trilogy, it's there spiritually through all the design that's being put into this film. Now, although there is some CGI in this film to enhance particular moments, and there are some creatures that to give them some more facial expressions that they have some CGI, but I will say overall, most of the CGI works because they've still used that sort of design that they had from the original trilogy. So they don't have anything that looks like Jar Jar Binks or Watto or anything like that. They don't have anything that looks like a walking Lego in this film. However, there are some CGI moments that really kind of bothered me. You have Supreme Leader Snoke, played by Andy Serkis, and I just wasn't buying him really as a villain or as a character. He was just a bit too CG for me. You'd have close-ups of Kylo Ren, and you have close-ups of General Hux and other characters, and you cut to a close-up of Supreme Leader Snoke, and it just kind of, you could see that he was CGI. In fact, he kind of had this weird kind of orky look from the Hobbit films, which is a bit disappointing, especially, you know, it's Andy Serkis, so you already have that kind of, I don't know, weird vibe with him, this Lord of the Rings kind of vibe, and I still kind of felt that with this film. You could see his face in the design, though, which I thought they did really well. Kind of like what they did with Gollum, but a little bit different here. So, but Snoke, yeah, it wasn't really my thing, but we'll get back into that a little bit later because he comes up a bit later in the film. But I just wanted to say that some of the CGI looks good. Maz Kanata looks really good. You can see that she's CGI, but it doesn't really strike you too much, you know, it doesn't really distract you from what you're watching. She blends in pretty well with what's going on. But let's get to the story then. So, what's happening here is that apparently in the gap of 30 years between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens, Luke Skywalker has tried to start up a Jedi Academy, and it failed. And because it failed, he just kind of fucked off somewhere, and nobody knows where he is. The Empire has crumbled, but Supreme Leader Snoke came in using the dark side of the Force, and he's created the First Order, which is built off of the remnants of the Empire. Because this is building, you have the Rebellion has turned into the Resistance. They're resisting the First Order from starting, and at the same time, the New Republic has been started. So the Republic that you have from the prequels is a little bit of a nod to the prequels. It's coming back. And in the meantime, everybody's looking for Luke, because they need a balance in the Force, because the Force is clearly not balanced. That's the core of the story. That's what you get in the whole title crawl, which is really cool. I loved the title crawl. I'll be honest, I wept like a little baby when the title crawl happened. I didn't think I was going to, but it hit boom, Star Wars. I'm like, okay, that's fine. And as I was reading, I was like, it looks like Star Wars. They kept the same shape of the cut for this particular title crawl that they had in the original Star Wars films. So not the Blu-ray release or the special editions releases, because they actually changed the format for those. I'm really talking about the original release. They kept the kind of like almost Alabama shape to it, you know, if you know your geography a bit. So that's the kind of framing and format that they did for it, and they're just succinctly they tell you that, you know, Luke is gone and everybody's looking for him. That's kind of the gist, and then, you know, in big bold letters they use the terms that you need to remember for the film. They're the First Order, the Resistance, and the New Republic. So from there you go into the actual plot line, which shows Kylo Ren looking for Luke Skywalker to probably screw him up. Everybody's looking for Luke. The Resistance is looking for Luke, the First Order is looking for Luke, so everybody is just scrambling to find Luke. Then we are introduced to BB-8 and Poe Dameron, who get separated on Jakku because of an attack from Kylo Ren. That's how Rey gets BB-8. So, there's a kind of a fluid way that everybody meets. You also see Finn's development. It's not just, oh my god, I suddenly have a conscience. No, he really goes through some pretty harsh trauma in the film and has some shell shock, and he says, I can't deal with this anymore. So everybody kind of meets in a really nice way, and it all fluidly goes together. Jakku has a purpose for this. It's not just some random planet. Rey is there for a reason, and that's one of the only mysteries that's kind of left by the end of the film, really, is who is Rey? We still don't know her last name by the end of the film. We just know that she's Rey. And we know that she's been waiting on Jakku for her family. That's all you know. It's safe to assume that Luke Skywalker might be her family. She seems to be a bit blurry on who her family were to begin with anyway. So she could also be the child of Han and Leia. Who knows? That's not really discussed in too much detail. It's been hinted at, though. You even have later some characters are asking Han Solo, like, who's the girl? And so they've had a conversation. I think Han knows who Rey is, but that's not really specified in the film. I'm going to try to not go through too much of the plot, though, or anything. Let's just get into the things that I liked and that I didn't like that were explicit details. I love Daisy Ridley as Rey. I love John Boyega as Finn, and I loved Oscar Isaac as Poe Dameron. I didn't think I was going to like all three of them. I thought Poe, I'd be like, eh, and Finn, I'd be like, okay, yeah, you're there, and Rey, I would love. And it ended up being, I loved all three of them. They're absolutely amazing. And I really loved Adam Driver as Kylo Ren, but not for the reasons that you might think. No. I thought going into this, okay, yes, he's going to be a Darth Vader clone, and yes, okay, I can see from the trailers that he emulates Vader, and so on and so forth, but the film is trying too hard to have a Darth Vader in it. But it wasn't. And that's the really nice newness to this film, because although it ties into a lot of the previous stuff, and there are a lot of references that I'll get into later about this, the trilogy, it has its own soul. And all of its characters fit their own box. They don't fit the boxes that we have in our heads. So, though Kylo Ren is trying to fit the box of Darth Vader, he fails. He's actually a really sadistically wimpy character. It's because of the anger and fear that he's using for the dark side. He's very powerful, but he's also really weak-minded, and he cannot control himself. And at the same time, he's just constantly feeling like he's not good enough. So his insecurities show constantly, which I really liked about this character. He was just, I don't know, he's not likable, which is really good. You root for him to get the shit kicked out of him. So by the time he eventually does get a little bit of the shit kicked out of him, it's really satisfying. So you love to hate this guy, and you hate him for different reasons than you may have hated Darth Vader, because he doesn't have that same badassery thing. He's trying, but it's not really working, and that's exactly the point. It's not like the film is trying to make him a new Darth Vader and then what didn't work. It's really, no, the film is setting him up to be a really shitty Darth Vader. So hopefully in 8 and 9, he kind of develops himself in a way that he does become a formidable force and becomes this enemy that he wants to be. So that's what I really enjoyed, Rey, for instance, does not fit just as Leia. Finn does not just fit as Luke Skywalker, and Poe does not just fit as Han Solo. But they do kind of fit with all of them. I would say Rey is a nice mix of Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, and Leia in the way that she behaves and the way that she believes in life and all that sort of stuff. Finn is a really nice mix between Luke and Han. And I would say Poe Dameron is also a nice mix of Han and Leia, maybe even. So it doesn't really matter about those three. Those three made those films work, but these three make this film work. And this film is its own film, despite hitting the same marks. And that's where my complaints do hit, and where I think more people are going to complain about as well. No, it's not a spiritual remake of the first 3 films, but it is an homage to them. And I really hope that stops with this film, because it hit way too many of the major plot points that they hit already in the previous films. For instance, it starts off with the desert planet, and then from the desert planet you get a droid that's lost because it has some plans in it, and then it goes and finds somebody, and then they get in the Millennium Falcon and get the fuck off the desert planet. That's exactly how the movie starts. And then from there, you have this Darth Vader-like figure who's on a Star Destroyer trying to find them. They have a gigantic base that can destroy planets. You see where I'm going here? It's all about the same. You also have a bar full of aliens that's a bit weird, and they play a weird alien tune from an alien band. Just an excuse to show you all the different alien designs that they could create. So, it does feel like A New Hope, tremendously. And yet it doesn't, because it is its own film. All the actual plot points that are put in between it are completely unique for the film. Rey, for instance, I'd have to say Rey surprised me the most, because what everybody was afraid of with Rey judging from the trailers, was that she was a Luke Skywalker type. You know, she would look to the skies and wish, if only I could just be out of here and be in an adventure. And she's the complete opposite of that. Rey actually wants to stay put where she is because she was told to stay put. Her family would be home to get her one day. And she's just been living her life that way. Every time they're on a ship, she goes, okay, I need to get back to Jakku, guys. And it doesn't ever work out for her. And of course, her destiny becomes more and more clear as the story goes along. And I love that twist. I love that the marketing was misleading for this film because they set you up to be in that mode of like, oh, here we go. She's going to be like Luke Skywalker. And then she's not. So that's really cool. It's really nice. The same with Finn. He's set up to be a guy who just stares blankly and is just scared. And no, he's not. I mean, he is a bit of a coward, but that's what's really cool. He's cowardly and yet he's heroic all at the same time. He's a bit of your Harry Potter kind of character here. He's a bit bumbly, doesn't really know what he's doing, but he's doing it because he knows enough and he has the strength to do it. And that's some cool shit, especially when you compare him to Kylo Ren, who's trying his hardest to do shit, and it's just not really happening for him. He's being belittled left and right. You do have the same relationships within the First Order that you have within the Empire, though. General Hux is Grand Moff Tarkin. Kylo Ren is Darth Vader. The only difference here is that, unlike Darth Vader and Tarkin, Kylo Ren is wrong and General Hux is right for the most part. So, yeah, they're kind of switching it up like that. But there is enough new here. There are a lot of new planets. I don't even think there was a single planet that they go to that was from the original films, not even from the prequels even. They also have just a shitload of new droids and aliens and stuff because they are on new planets. So I really like that. The storylines develop in their own particular way, and there are enough twists and turns that it was really fantastic. For instance, everybody thought that moment where Finn and Kylo Ren go at it, Finn is completely out of his depth and he looks scared. Yeah, they chose a different take. The take that they actually used in the film, Finn knows what the hell he's doing. He's a freaking stormtrooper. He knows how to use a weapon, and it means he knows how to use hand weapons as well. And he holds his own against Kylo Ren for quite a while. But it's not until Rey picks up that lightsaber that it's really freaking awesome. Man, oh man, the action in this movie. Fantastic. The TIE fighters sound fantastic. The X-Wings look fantastic. The blasters look good. And although it is a repeat of the Death Star, Starkiller Base is really intimidating. I really enjoyed the moment when you see it in action. It's far more visceral than I had thought it would be. And the lightsaber battles as well. They don't lie in the interviews. John Boyega and J.J. Abrams were both quoted saying, I think that this has the best lightsaber battle in the history of Star Wars, or maybe after Empire Strikes Back. And I have to agree with them. This is the second best lightsaber duel I've seen ever, really. I love the lightsaber battle in this one. This one will be parodied to the end of time, I think. This film will be parodied to the end of time. There's a lot of cool shit here. And also, they just answer enough. Just enough. Like, who is Finn? How did he get his name? Who's Poe? What is his relationship with BB-8? Where is Luke? What happened between Leia and Han? Who's Kylo Ren? All that sort of stuff. All of that's answered. There are some major spoilers for this film that I'm not even going to touch in this review because I don't think that you should know them going in. I knew them about a couple years ago because somebody leaked the script, and unfortunately it was a real leak. So if you saw that, I'm sorry. I just kind of spoiled some stuff for you. But no, I'm not even going to touch upon it. You guys just go enjoy it, and you'll see some of those plot points develop for yourself. But there's enough here for you to enjoy. It's got some really good drama. I teared up more than once because they either hit me in the nostalgia nuts or they hit me in my heart. So, and they did that really well. J.J. Abrams is really good at that. One thing I also enjoyed about this film is that although it really feels and looks like Star Wars, it's also clearly not because the filmmaking is a little different. I don't recall seeing any swipes in this film, which for me is kind of the DNA of Star Wars. So it's a little weird for me that they didn't do that. I saw a lot of cuts here and there, and what they did very often in place of a swipe is they would turn the camera really fast, so you get that blur, and then they would be looking at something else. Or they would go from the perspective of inside a box, and then somebody would open the box, and they did that a few times as well. That sort of stuff made it a J.J. Abrams film compared to just a Star Wars film with no personality. It had a very J.J. Abrams personality to it. It's very cheeky. Some of the humor is really nice. Some of the references are fun too. I mean, of course, you can't have a Star Wars film without a Wilhelm scream. They've got it. Check. You can't have it without, I've got a bad feeling about this. Check. It was in there. You cannot have Star Wars without the stormtroopers talking about something stupid. Check. They talked about a blaster rifle. And there are more references where they reference other things, and, they re-quote stuff from previous films, and I think they even mentioned the Clone Troopers at one point, just to kind of keep it within the realm of all 6 films. So there's stuff there that if you like that, you're going to love all the references. If you're one of those Marvel people who likes all the references to the comics and stuff, this is kind of what they're doing with this film for Star Wars. If you don't like that, I'm sorry, you're going to be annoyed. They do it a lot. A lot. But even though they do it a lot, like I said, there's enough there for you to enjoy just for a new film. BB-8's fantastic. I didn't think BB-8 was going to be interesting at all. I was like, oh, it's a poor man's R2-D2. And to a degree he is, and to a degree he's not. He's got his own personality. He handles things his own way. He's cuter than R2. He's a little less spicy than R2. He's kind of naive and, what's going on? I think he's kind of the perspective of the child. So if you take your kids to see this movie, you're watching it through the eyes of BB-8. Kind of what they did with R2 in the first film. But in this case, even more childlike than R2 was. A lot of old favorites are back in this film, too. I don't mind spoiling that for you guys, because when you see them, it's still amazing. You've got Admiral Akbar is back, guys. He's back in this one. Obviously, C-3PO, R2-D2. The voice of Yoda is in there. If you listen really closely, you can hear Yoda. A lot of tiny things. I saw an R2-D4 in there. Gonk is present. The Hammerhead alien is also present. So those sorts of characters are still kind of peppered throughout it. But still, there are some issues storytelling-wise that kind of pissed me off, and that's why I couldn't give this more than a 4.5. I'm actually about giving it a 4.5, so I was kind of leaning towards 4, because for instance, like Captain Phasma, my fears came true with Captain Phasma. She was completely useless in this film. She is the captain for Finn, and then she's held responsible for him being, AWOL, and we don't really see much of her until the whole big war shit starts happening, and Gwendoline Christie got maybe, 5 or 6 lines in the entire film, and it was really disappointing for me. Eventually Han and Finn find her, and they beat her up, and then they insinuate that they kill her off screen. I hope that they didn't. I hope that that's a kind of a Sarlacc moment for her, that maybe she has the possibility to come back in later films and actually be a villain, because in this case she really wasn't. She just stood around and took people's shit and then just yelled at Finn sometimes. She looks amazing, that's cool, but you also don't get to see Gwendoline Christie, you just hear her voice. So that's fine, that's cool, I guess. I mean, they kind of already established that the Stormtroopers never take their helmets off, so that Finn even dared do it was a big problem. But that pissed me off. Max von Sydow is on the poster, not physically, but his name's on the poster. He's in the credits. They've been marketing him. He's in the movie for 2 fucking minutes at the very beginning. That's it. That is it. He's just in there to introduce a little bit of the history of the film, just to say, I have the map. This is what we're looking for to find Luke Skywalker. And that's it. And then they just, fuck off, Max von Sydow. I was really disappointed. A lot of people were speculating, is he going to be Boba Fett or something like that? And it wasn't. No Boba Fett in the film. Sorry, guys, I will tell you that. So if you're going in the film looking for Boba Fett, and you don't mind spoilers, get that expectation gone. He's not there. Maybe he'll show up in a later film. That would be really cool. I have a feeling he might show up in a later film, but we'll see. So for the rest, those are the 2 major issues that I had, was the lack of Max von Sydow and the lack of Captain Phasma. But everybody else got really good screen time. Han, Chewie, Leia, Rey, Finn, BB-8, Poe, everybody got good screen time. Kylo Ren. So, hell, even Supreme Leader Snoke had some pretty good screen time in this film. So everybody who is top billed got some stuff. And I will say this, I'm really, really happy that they didn't turn this into just a complete cut of an ending. I was really scared it was going to be an Empire Strikes Back moment of, oh god, everything's terrible, the end. Because there for a moment, it really looked like, okay, we've defeated this big Starkiller base, and then we need to go find Luke. I'm like, I swear to God, if the next movie is about going to find Luke, I'm going to be so angry. And they don't. They find Luke in the next 5 to 10 minutes, and it's good. That's the end, is having Luke. So I'm like, okay, good, hooray! We're going to have Luke Skywalker in the other 2 films, or at least in the next film. So, hey, Luke Skywalker is going to be seen on screens more often. Hooray. That was the thing that made me the happiest, is that they decided to complete that part of the story. They find him, they do what they need to do. I love the humor in it. I love the brutality in it. There are some lightsaber moments that are just horrifying. You see them like sticking out of people and that sort of stuff. Blaster rifles do a lot of damage to people. There's blood in this film. It's a dark film. So if you're taking your kiddies to see this, make sure they're of age. This has a rating for a reason, and it really lives up to its rating. Not so much when it comes to language, but definitely when it comes to violence. And to round off this review, what I want to thank Abrams and Kasdan and everybody involved in it, actually, for this particular film. Was what I think that made Star Wars so appealing to me as a child was that it was also kind of scary if you're a kid. There's an element to it that's a little terrifying. I mean, every single one of the original trilogy had a creature in it that was really horrifying. You had the Dianoga in the first one, you had the Wampa in the second one, and you had the Rancor in the third one. This one has its own as well, in the form of the Rathtar. The Rathtar is pretty freaking sweet. Unfortunately, it is one of those kind of like, oh my god, look at all the CGI kind of moments. But I still love the design of this creature, and I can imagine if I were 5 or 6 again, this would be one of those creatures that would be up there with the Rancor that I would have, you know, years later watch the movie again and go, oh, see, I wasn't crazy for having a memory that this scene happened, of the slimy creature eating people on a ship. So I'm really happy that was there. In fact, in honor of that, what I want to do is do a list of the scariest moments in Star Wars. And I may even feature The Force Awakens. I'm not too sure. We'll see. I wouldn't have footage for it, but we'll see. So, thank you, people of Disney and Lucasfilm, for making sure that there's some scary moments in here. There are also some scary-looking droids and other aliens and creatures throughout the film, just kind of peppered through it, which is really nice because that's what makes Star Wars for me, is that it's a little unsettling and there's a tense atmosphere all around, and there's a tense atmosphere in this movie. So, ultimately, yes, I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 because I freaking love it. I'm a very critical fan, and I enjoyed, I would say, 95% of watching this movie. I don't think it really dragged in any place, and that's good. I really like that. I can't wait to see it again. I'll be seeing it again on Friday, and I'll be seeing it again after that a week later, and hopefully I get to see this in IMAX as well. Please be on the lookout for a video from me where I compare the different formats you can see this in. So I'm going to show you which one you should see this in if you haven't seen it yet. Should you see it in 3D, 2D, or IMAX 3D? So keep an eye out for that. And thank you guys for watching. Please let me know what you thought of Star Wars. Was there anything that really fucking irritated you? Was there anything that you really freaking loved about this movie? And please don't spoil the major plot points that I was talking about. Don't do that for people. You know, we don't need to have any Harry Potter moments here. So try not to spoil anything that I haven't already spoiled. But just give me, what was your favorite moment? What was your least favorite moment? What did you hate about this review? What did you love about this? Tell me in the comments below. Give me a like. Give me subscribe if you liked it. And I'll see you guys around. So thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.